Hey guys, and welcome back to the Called and Creative podcast. I'm your host, Michaela Steek, owner of Till the Dawn Photo Company.
I'm your co-host, Courtney Miller, owner of Miller Image and Motion.
And together we are the Called and Creative. And today I think we wanted to talk a little bit about a hot topic that's been going on, the rising cost of not just SD cards, but storage in general, camera equipment, computers, and how AI is affecting all of that. So I'm sure we all have seen the incredible cost of SD cards and just storage in general here lately. I actually have some stats. I'm going to pull them up real quick.
While you're doing that, I'll pull up the ones that I bought, just out of curiosity.
I actually made an email for my clients that is going to be going out very soon because I have a few things I'm going to be changing in my business just to kind of mitigate some of these costs. And so I created an email, and in the email, I actually explained like how vast the difference is and like what I bought a year ago versus what I would have to pay today. Okay, I've got it. So in recent years, storage costs have over doubled in just the last, year or two. So previously, I purchased SD cards, which is just a SanDisk, 64 gigabyte, 200 megabytes per second, very similar to what most photographers use. Last year, I bought them for $15.28 each on Amazon. Today, the same exact card is $33.35. So over double what I was paying. And then external hard drives, which would be where I store most of my files. I paid $87.39 last year for that's probably a 1 terabyte if I remember right. It might be 2 terabytes. Today that same exact one is $179.99. That is insane.
That is crazy.
Were you finding
Trying to
yours?
look for mine. Yeah. So, let me see when this was. So, I didn't buy this last year. I bought this at the end of 2023.
Just over a year
Um,
ago.
just over a year ago. I bought the Samsung T7 2 terabyte SSD for $129. That same exact SSD right now is going for
Oh my
316.69.
gosh. That's
Yeah.
insane.
And it's
$300.
only and it's only a 2 terabyte.
I need one every year, if not twice a
Yeah.
year.
Yep.
That's insanity.
Yeah. Let me see. I
God.
bought a 4 terabyte one too, so let me see what that one was.
And while
I
you're looking,
bought
for those
yeah.
who don't know, most of the rising costs are due to AI. And so
Mhm.
all of the AI that's going on in the world, and I'm also not, like, I'm not against AI at all. I use AI in my business quite a bit, actually. But the technology that creates AI basically uses the same like pieces that go into your storage and your cameras and your laptops. Supply and demand. The more demand there is for a product, the higher the price is going to be. And so, because of AI and this huge demand for all of this equipment, we are seeing these skyrocketed prices, unfortunately.
Which is really crazy when you think about it because honestly, it kind of came out of nowhere, I feel like.
Right.
Because I bought stuff, I think, in like November, and it was not this bad. And then all of a sudden, you look in like, I think it was January or like end of January, maybe,
Uh-huh.
and it was like double, if not triple the price. And it's just continuing to get worse.
And I actually didn't even know until I saw a post about it on Facebook on one of the photography groups. I was like, because I mean, I have so many SD cards at this point, I don't replace them very often. And
Hmm.
so I haven't bought any in a long time. And I need a QXD right now because I only have one, kind of as my backup card. And I need another one of those. I am about to need another external drive. And I just keep pushing it off because it's hard to spend all that extra money when you know like it's not really worth that much extra.
Oh yeah. I I just put in a very expensive order a couple of weeks ago because I needed a CF Express card, and oof. I just went ahead and bit the bullet and I got like a giant like 512 gigabyte card because, I'd rather put a little bit more money into it and have like one really big one than have, pay more money and get smaller cards.
Right.
So I just got a really giant one, and then I also got two really nice SD cards for like video, which I know you don't do any video, but the video ones are even worse, like price
All right.
wise. Yeah, because you want the high, like, read and write speed, plus you want the V60 or V90, which is even more expensive. So I spent like six or
Ugh,
$700 and I bought like four things.
that's crazy.
Yeah. But, you know, in the grand scheme of things, I mean, have I normally spent that much on SD cards? No. But those were the only ones that I really needed for this year. And I have enough other SD cards lying around that I really shouldn't need to like buy anything else too crazy for the rest of the year, mainly just because of how long I've been doing this. And I always take really good care of my cards. I always format them in the camera once I'm ready to reuse them. I never like delete off, while they're connected to the computer or anything like that. I never like, I don't know, I don't abuse them. I keep them in a very nice, like, protective SD case, you know, I don't know. I just take very good care of my stuff. I've never had one corrupt on me.
I
Praying
have had
that
one.
holds true.
The whole thing did not corrupt. I had one file that corrupted in the whole card, and I said, nope.
That's so
That,
weird.
it was very weird, but I was like, nope, we're just done with that card. It's retired. We're done.
Yeah, it's
Whatever.
toast.
Which I
Right in the
always
trash.
do cards just in case because you just
Oh,
never know.
same. Yep.
I feel like if you have dual slots and you're not using them for every session, like what are you doing? Like what's the point? And I
Yeah,
mean,
because
I onto them until they're uploaded. Once they're uploaded to my card, or to my external drive, I get rid of them. I don't
yeah,
keep.
exactly.
There's no point
Yeah.
in that. But I just don't get it. How you don't have. I would have so much anxiety all of the time if I.
Well, it's just one of those things where it's like, if you have it, why not use it?
Right.
Because really all it's going to do for you is create security. It's not something that like the photos need to live on that SD card for the next year, and now that's an SD card that you can't use and now you have to buy another one. You know, I actually saw this post, and I say this like not to be mean to the person that like wrote this post in the group at all, because I don't like, I never want to like be mean with what I said, but
Right.
I say it to say like just how wild it was, because I saw a post in a Facebook group that I'm a part of, and I can't remember which one it was, but somebody was saying something about how they were only using SD cards once and then throwing them away. And like they were asking like how people were like working the cost into their business, like buying new SD cards
I.
every time they had a shoot. And I was like, dude,
I mean, I guess that's just one of those things you don't know unless you know.
exactly. And that's why I said, like, I say this not to be mean. It's just more of a like, you only know what you know. And like,
Right.
if you don't know, you don't know. But at the same time, like, I could totally understand how that would run you right into the ground. Like, buying a new SD card every single time you have a shoot.
Yeah.
Like, especially right now with how expensive they are.
Yeah. That's nuts.
So don't do that. Take good care of your cards and they will last you a long time.
And luckily, I'm in a good spot in my business where I've had so much gear for so long. And I actually got lucky. I had to get a new computer last year. I had to get a new body last year. So those costs are not affecting me because I bought
Hmm.
last year and I shouldn't need to buy anything else for a good, few years at least. But one thing that I am doing in my business is I have been that person who holds on to files forever and ever because I love my clients, and I would feel so bad if somebody came to me and was like, "Hey, my loved one passed away. Do you happen to still have these photos so we can have them?" Like, I want to be that person to be able to say, "Yes, I have them. Like, let me dig them out. I will have them for you." But the reality is, I either have to raise my prices significantly, which affects all of my clients, or I have to change the way I'm doing things. And so my plan is actually to retire some of the external drives that I already have. So I have external drives that date back all the way to, I think, 2020. So they're 5 or 6 years old at this point.
Hmm.
I'm going to clear all of those out. I'm going to let all my clients know ahead of time, like, hey, within the next 30 days, 2020, 2021, it's all going away. So if you need your photos, reach out to me now so that you can get them. And then I'm probably only going to archive them for like maybe 2 years. We'll see. Made a final decision on that, but I know some photographers, they only archive files for, 30 days, 60 days. I just don't like to be that person because I know that things happen, and I do have like a re-upload fee. So if you don't download your photos within a specified time, there's a fee to get them re-uploaded. And that's more so just to push people to make sure they download them and don't rely on me to hold on to them for years and years. And most of the time it works because they get a reminder email like, hey, there's going to be a $50 fee if you don't download your photos. So that's helped a lot. But I have loved to be the person to hold on to them, but the reality is I don't think I've ever had somebody come back years later and say, "Hey, do you still have my photos?" So, it's just not worth it for me or my clients to, like, have that rising cost in their session.
I think I've had maybe 3 or 4 clients come back and ask me for that. One of them was actually a wedding. I don't know what in the world happened. She said that something happened to her laptop and like that was the only place she had them, which
My
is kind
gosh.
of wild to me, like especially in today's world. Not to like, you know, rag on her or anything cuz I get it, but it is kind of like wild that that was the only place that she had it, you know. But it was nice to be able to re-upload them for her and like make sure she got them and everything, and she was super grateful. But I completely understand what you're saying about like it shouldn't necessarily fall on us that just because we took someone's photos 5 or 10 years ago, that shouldn't mean that we have to now be the person to archive them for the next 10 or 20 years for them,
Right?
especially
And
if you
it's
have to pay for it.
Yeah. It's not realistic, and the reality is that my house could burn down tomorrow. All those files will be gone in a
Hmm.
heartbeat. So it really is the client's responsibility to download them and store them in a safe place. And I always tell my clients, make sure you are downloading and saving to two places, at least one of those being a cloud-based service. So Google Photos is free, Google Drive is free, iCloud, tons of people already pay for iCloud storage. Save them to your phone. But there's so many free ways to save them. But I do think it's kind of part of our jobs too to let them know, like, hey, it is your responsibility to download them. Please store them in a safe place, store them on a cloud-based service. These are not things that normal people typically think about. And I'm just as guilty. I have photos from my senior year of college. I have no idea where they are. I think they're uploaded to my Canva somewhere where I'd use them on Canva somewhere. But other than that, no idea where they are. I don't even know that I saved them anywhere. And so I'm just as guilty.
Hmm.
So I just think part of your job is just educating your clients and that stuff. So have you like upped your prices this year with all the costs that are going up, or how are you kind of mitigating all of this?
So, yes, my prices are increasing. Not a whole lot, but just a little bit. Um, as of this exact like time that we are recording this, I am just finishing up kind of re-updating my website with new pictures, new packages, new offerings, all those things. So probably by the time this releases, it should be out on my website by that point. But I am upping my prices just a little bit. But for the most part, this isn't like absolutely like tanking my business, you know, like I'm not having to like double or triple my prices in order to afford things. Mostly, I think because of the fact that I have been doing this for 5 plus years, I have a backstock of tons of SD cards. I've got, you know, several SSDs. I have several HDDs. I have some cloud storage. You know, I already had some of those things in place. Is it annoying because there were some things that you know, it would be nice to have some extra SD cards, or, you know, was I planning on buying another SSD this year? Yeah, I was, and it sucks. But at this point, I'm going to wait it out because, not saying this is what's going to happen, because obviously I don't know and I can't predict the future, but at some point they have to come back down, and I feel like you could probably wait it out if you have enough stuff to get by for, you know, a year without it. And I think I have enough to do that, especially now that I bought the CFX Express card that I needed, and those other two like extra video SD cards that I mentioned earlier. Now that I have those, like, I think I can just kind of write it out for a little while, and for the most part it shouldn't affect me too much. But I mean, honestly, a lot of things are just getting more expensive. I mean, yeah, the SD card one, I that did kind of come out of nowhere. I know for a lot of us. I don't think any of us were expecting that.
Yeah.
But just in general, like, things are getting a little bit more expensive, and so just a general overall like small increase in things really is not crazy, you know, I think.
Yeah. Especially this time of year, I think it's to be
Yeah.
expected. Most people, January, February, March, they are upping their prices a little bit from what they were last year. And some people even wait till busy season, you know,
Hmm.
it's when they up their prices when,
Yeah.
supply and demand. That's another part of it. What people
Especially for like,
call.
you know, if you do weddings and things, because a lot of times this is a pretty frequent time of the year to get a lot of inquiries from people who got engaged over Thanksgiving or Christmas, or even, you know, Valentine's Day, or any of those holiday times. You know, they're starting to kind of get the general idea of their wedding vendors, when they're getting married, all those things. And so people are going to start looking ahead for 2027, and having those numbers in place that you can still sustain for the following year is going to be really important.
Yeah. And I think for me, I did just a very small increase. I think I increased by like $25 on each of my packages.
Hmm.
But I did make some changes to my packages to make them more profitable for me in the long run. And so I had 4 packages in place. I had like a petite session that was 30 minutes, 10 images. Then I had 3 1-hour session packages. So I had 15 images, 30 images, and then unlimited images. And I was finding that a lot of people would book the 15 image package because they wanted like the full hour experience, but they didn't want to spend the extra money. And there just wasn't enough margin between that 30-minute session and the 1 hour session to have the extra time put into it, the extra driving, because my 30-minute, I was only allowing it to be in my town where I live, whereas my 1 hour could be anywhere in the Tulsa metro, basically. And so there wasn't enough margin there to make it make sense to have both of them. And so I went ahead and consolidated. And so now I just have my 2 1-hour packages. My minimum investment there is over $500. It's 525, I believe, just off the top of my head. And then I have my petite session. And I also have changed where they can have their session. Used to, basically, I would drive anywhere in the metro. I would pay for rental fees on whatever studio that they wanted. And that was quite expensive. And so now they can use my home studio in Owasso, which is only 19 minutes from my house. It's very close. Or they can pay an additional fee to use another location, another rental, plus travel fees. And so that helps me stay close to home. It kind of encourages people to pick locations that are local to me. That way I'm not driving I mean, if I drive to South Tulsa, I'm driving an hour there and an hour back. Well, that's a ton of time away from my family, and it's also a ton of gas too. And so that just adds up over time. And so I should be charging for that extra time and that extra money and that extra wear and tear on my car. And so, so far, that has been really good. And I think people kind of like knowing, like, hey, if I use Michaela, my session's going to be in Owasso. And they like to know, like, this is where we're going to be. There's not a lot of guessing games. But I'm also flexible if they have another vision. There just might be a little extra cost to it.
That's a good idea. Honestly, at the beginning, I had a 30-minute and an hour package. I
You're good.
figured out like pretty close to, I don't know, maybe 5, 6 months after I moved here. I realized the same thing as you that there was not enough of a difference, like price wise, between the 30-minute and the 1 hour package that I had. And I was doing the same amount of work for less money.
Right.
And so for me, for a very long time, I just entirely cut the 30-minute package because for me it was I prepared for the session the exact same way. I didn't limit it to where it could be, so I was still potentially driving, all over Tulsa or wherever they wanted to have the session. I had them like cover any location fees or anything like that because I've always had my clients do that, which is nice. And so that's one thing I didn't have to worry about. But depending on where they chose, I could be driving, for an hour.
Right.
Um, and then also, like, you know, there were some people who booked the 30-minute package, but they really wanted the hour. And then the 30 minutes hit. We didn't get like all of the things that they wanted. And then it very quickly turned into an awkward conversation of they wanted more photos, but their time was up. And so for me, it was a very easy, like, okay, I'm just gonna snip that off. I'm not even gonna offer it anymore. My base package is gonna be the hour. That way it's more worth it to me. And then if they want to work with me, they just know that that is the minimum investment that they have to make in order to do that. And for a while, that has worked really, really well for me. And it wasn't until this year that I'm actually ready to bring back the 30-minute package, but it is only because I have my own studio. And so the stipulation with that is that if they book the 30-minute, it has to be scheduled during the week at my studio. And there's only like a certain time frame that they can like schedule it between. So it's not going to be during like, they can't do it on a weekend at some other location. It has to be at my studio. It has to be during the week, like during the day. So for the most part, I think that will probably, get a lot of like moms who are looking to do mommy and me's, which for the most part, I don't book a lot of full sessions for mommy and me's. They usually want minis. So that was kind of my intention with like offering those. Or the moms who they just had a baby, they just want a handful of pictures of them with their baby, and they only want to be there for 10, 15 minutes, get like 5 pictures, and leave. That's like who I had in mind when I designed this for. And so to be able to offer that in my studio really works for me. Otherwise, though, if I didn't have a studio, I would not have brought it back because for me, it just doesn't make any sense.
Well, and I think too, some people love minis. They offer minis
Mhm.
year round. It's always an option for them. I don't like minis. Um, I will do them occasionally for like seasonal setups. And just it's almost more of like a gift to my clients than it is to me because I just don't really like them. I do them because they like them and they enjoy them. Um,
Are they
and so
just like, is it, you just feel like it's too quick? Like you don't, like you're not able to get like the photos that you normally would, or?
well, and just as an example, like I'm going to be doing floral minis in probably either March or April. I haven't set a date quite yet. But I did some model calls for those this last week. And luckily, I planned out enough time between them that it was not a big deal. But I had somebody who was 10 minutes late to their 15-minute mini session. And luckily, like, I had extra time, so it wasn't a big deal. It was not a huge rush, but if that had been on a Saturday and I have back-to-back clients, they would have been, they would have only had 5 minutes, and I just have found that that happens more frequently than you would imagine.
Yeah.
Um, somebody who I like to be early to everything, and I'm always like, especially if I know I have to be there at a certain time. Not everybody's like that. Also, things happen, wrecks happen on the road. You can get stuck behind a train, like, things just happen, right? And so, for that reason, I just feel like minis are more stressful for everybody than they anticipate, like, they will have a better time, I will have a better time if we just plan out a longer amount of time to be together. And I also am just very like, I love photos that are very, like, emotional, connected, and you really can't do that in a mini session. A mini
Yeah.
session is sit down, smile, get a few good photos, and that's it. It's not time to get to know each other, to get comfortable with each other. That's why I love when I do minis and I have people that come back to me because I already know them, we already feel connected. We can do a lot more with that 15 minutes than somebody who I just meet that very first day, and so
Yeah.
they're just not my style, they're not my thing. Like I said, I do them occasionally just for my clients because they like them. It's just not mine, It's not my thing.
That's so funny. I love mini sessions,
Really?
honestly. Yeah. I
I
mean,
never
it kind of depends on like what I'm doing them for and like who the target like client would be for it, but for the most part, I would say it's a very good mixture for me of repeat clients or people who have been wanting to try me, but they felt like the price point was too much for what they were willing to just like, I'm just going to
try.
give this person a shot.
Right,
And so for them being able to have a lower price point, it's a lot less like concern for them that if something happened, like they're not losing out on a bunch of stuff, a bunch of time, money, you know,
right.
effort on getting ready for the pictures or anything like that. And a
Yeah,
lot of times I've had clients come from that who have turned into repeat clients. So they
right.
came to me for a mini session and now they've done like 5 or 6 different sessions with me. And like I'm just like their go-to photographer now, which is really awesome.
I will say I have a few like that too, like, they booked me for the first time through a mini, and then they've just stuck with me year after year,
Mhm.
and so that's great. And that brings up another interesting conversation is there are so many clients who have had bad experiences with photographers in the past that they are so weary to make an investment. Like, I mean, I know we both charge a similar amount for our sessions, and we are on like the higher end, I would say, in the Tulsa area. Um, a lot of people have had bad experiences, and it's scary to them to invest that much money and then maybe not get the experience that they expect. And so mini sessions are a really good way to just give a little introductory, like, this is what it'll be like. This is what you can expect from me. And then that once you have built that trust, they'll come back to you for like a higher price, longer session at some point.
Yeah, I feel really bad. I'm always like seeing posts in the Tulsa Moms group about, moms who have basically gotten scammed out of money and they did the session and never got the photos or like it was a nightmare to even like get scheduled and then they never even like were able to do the session and I feel so bad for those women because I understand like any amount of money that you are paying to somebody to not get anything out of it would be so frustrating, especially if you spend a lot of time, like, getting to that place. And especially for the ones that were like, oh, yeah, it was for my birth or for newborn photos. And then they missed that window of like getting photos of their brand new baby. And now they're 6 months old. Like, you can't go back and fix that. And so I really hate it because those people are making it harder for the people who are out here like us actually like doing this job,
Like,
actually caring about our clients, wanting to
yes.
have a good experience for them, wanting to be able to capture these memories for them. So I really hate that because I feel like it gives actual photographers a really bad name.
Yeah. And same thing with some of these photographers who decide to charge 75 bucks for a mini session. Like, that really hurts a lot of us who are running a legitimate business, who a ton of business expenses. You know, we pay for insurance, we're paying for all the proper storage, the proper gear, taxes. We pay our taxes every year. Uh, we can't afford to run mini sessions for 50 or $75. It's just not possible. And so when someone picks up a camera and decides they're a photographer and they're offering 15 spots at $50 a piece, like it's just it's hard for us who are running legitimate businesses to charge what we charge and still get great bookings. So,
I also think that I think it's okay to charge that amount if you're just starting out with the intention that you will get to the point where you're going to charge more.
right.
What I don't understand are the photographers who are out there who do this and they've been doing it for 5, 8, 10 years and that's still what they're charging. That's kind of crazy to me because it's like, how are you operating a legitimate business when
You're
you're
not.
only charging $75?
Either that or you're not making any money.
Mm-hmm.
Like you're just breaking even at that point.
Yeah.
I think another interesting thing we could talk about is AI. What is your stance on AI?
Okay, so I kind of go back and forth on this a little bit. Um, I don't know. I don't think it's like bad entirely. I think it really kind of depends on how you use it. Obviously, anything can be used for bad things. Anything can be used for good things. So it really kind of depends on how you're using it, and I would even say like your own convictions with things as well. Um, from a creative stance, though, I don't absolutely love it because I feel like a lot of like ways that it can be used or is being used um, is kind of like I'm trying to think of the right word. It
Deceptive?
it yeah, deceptive, and then also like it's kind of taking away from like creatives in a way of like being able to use their creativity, and it's being a little too heavily relied on for certain things in my opinion.
Yeah.
um so like for example, I saw something the other day, and I don't know how like true this is or if people are out there doing this, but the video I saw made me think, oh my gosh, like what if this actually like starts happening? Um, I saw something about a photographer talking about how easy it is to literally go into some of these, like Chat GPT or like any of the other like equivalent ones that you can use and literally creating fake wedding images. And then the potential of scam artists using them on their website to book potential couples
Clients.
and yeah, and saying, "Oh, these are my like this is my work," when in all reality it's not, and it's gotten so good that like you can't tell.
Right.
And that to me is super concerning because at that point like not even like thinking about how this could affect the like photography and wedding vendor industry, I'm thinking from the standpoint of like the clients who booked. Like, I don't even know how you combat this from that standpoint because, or how you trust anyone, you know? So, that, like, just thinking about that part of it has me concerned a little bit. Um, but again, I know there's a lot of really good things that people are out there doing with AI and things. For me personally, recently I kind of felt a little bit convicted to start using it less and less, which honestly I have realized is really difficult because I've started paying a little bit more attention to it, and oh my gosh, you would not even think of all of the different things that it uses AI without you even like realizing it's using AI.
Well, if you go to Google, you Google something, it'll pull up an AI answer before it pulls up any other
Yep.
source.
Yeah, which I did not realize was an AI thing. I thought it was like I don't even know what I thought it was, but I did not realize that was AI. And I
Yeah.
think a lot of other people are probably in the same boat of like they didn't realize it was AI either. And so it's really difficult because I started realizing really quickly it's a lot more difficult to like cut AI out right now because the
It's everywhere.
things that yeah, the things that you would think that oh yeah, I'm going to cut that out because it has AI. Well, think about, your phone for example. I
Facebook,
could tell you, yeah, Facebook has
Instagram.
AI, Instagram has AI,
I mean, that's all
any
out
social media.
it
Yeah.
AI.
Yep. So it's like I can't, go live under a rock and be nowhere. So I'm trying to find like that middle like balance of like accepting where we're at right now, but like not not using it in a deceitful way, honestly, like which I never would try and do that.
Right.
But also like honoring my own creativity and my own thinking because I used to use like ChatGPT a lot for help with like captions and like helping me come up with like things to post on Instagram or like other social medias and things. I've stopped doing that because I realized pretty quickly that the stuff that it was coming up with, while it was good, it wasn't me.
Right.
And I've noticed that a lot of the people that come to me, they come to me for me. And so if I am using something else to come up with like things that are marketing me, like how is that going to connect back to the client seeing me and not me as the thing that ChatGPT is spitting out?
Right.
And so I have since stopped doing that, and I've noticed a huge increase in like the amount of likes and like interactions and stuff I've had with recent social media posts where I have stopped doing that.
Uh-huh.
So I don't think I will be going back to doing that anymore. I do use it like if I'm going to write out something really big and I'm having a hard time like saying it in the proper way, like grammatically or this is what I want to say and I'm trying to figure out a professional way to say it. I will use ChatGPT for that to get like an idea of like how I could say it professionally. But for the most part, I do end up changing it and tweaking it to sound more like me but it's a good starting point. And so I think that it's okay to use it for things like that. But it does concern me that I am seeing a lot of people like rely on it a little bit too heavily and how deceitful it like could cause people to be.
Uh-huh. Yeah, and I think you just have to take it with a grain of salt, use it to your advantage without relying on it so much. Like
Mm-hmm.
when I use ChatGPT, I type in all of my thoughts, exactly what I'm thinking about, like for the post or the email or whatever it is, and I just ask it to polish it. Put those sentences together properly, split it up into paragraphs as needed, just because sometimes I have a hard time like formatting things, not just
Yeah.
getting my point across, but formatting it to make it sound good, and grammatical and all of those things. And so that's kind of how I use it. And then I also use it for not every session, but often I will do like my calling through AI. Sometimes I do AI editing. And it's never a final draft. It's just like a good starting point because when you start with 1,000 raw images, it can be very overwhelming to call those down to say 100 images. And so AI just kind of helps me, break it down a little bit to where it's not so overwhelming. And so more of like a tool than a do everything for me type of thing.
Yeah. Tried the culling before. I don't know. I wasn't like super impressed because some of the ones that it threw out and marked as like not good, they were like some of my favorites. Which I don't know, maybe that kind of just
Like the more you use it, the better it gets. But I still
yeah.
don't like if there's something that I really don't want to work at, I send it to my editor. If it's something that I am okay with, like reviewing what it picks, then cool. I'll go ahead and do that because it is a lot cheaper than sending it off to my editor. But if I really want someone to sit down and look at every single photo, I send it to her because AI just it's not the same as a human,
Definitely.
especially a creative human who has actual eyeballs. So
Do you use AI in like anything else within your business?
don't think so. I use ChatGPT occasionally. Honestly, I use ChatGPT more as like my personal Google when I have questions because sometimes it explains things a lot further than Google does. But I don't like stop there. Sometimes you have to question what it says, and so like double referencing is really important there. So that's kind of how I don't really use it as much in my business that way. That's more of like a personal preference.
Hmm.
And then I use Imagine AI for my calling and editing if I use it. Um, and I go back and forth, sometimes I send everything to my editor, sometimes I use Imagine. It just kind of depends on my mood and honestly how busy I am. Like this week, I don't have time to touch anything. And so she's getting everything this week because I'm too busy to really sit down and focus on it right now. But I think that's it. I don't think I have any other AI things that I use.
I used to use it a little bit as a search engine, and then have you seen that the strawberry thing going around with ChatGPT? Okay, so basically it was like somebody was asking ChatGPT how many R's there are in the word strawberry, and it kept saying two, but there's
Really?
actually three. Yeah. And
Huh.
so it was like basically I guess the whole point of like people like doing this was like if it can't count how many R's there are, like how accurate is some of the
Yeah.
information that it's like giving you. And
It is
so
very counting. Like, if you ask it to do like 30 days from today, it rarely picks the correct date. And it
yeah.
often doesn't know what day it is. Like, you have to
Hmm.
say, today is what? Today's Wednesday, March 4th? Yeah, March 4th.
Yeah.
ChatGPT does not know that. You have to tell it that and then ask, like, what's 30 days from that date. It's really weird.
Which is really crazy because I don't know. I mean, I only took like a handful of like coding classes in college, but and I am nowhere near like any of the crazy amounts of like coding and software development work that would need to go into creating something like that.
Right.
But I can't imagine that the code to be able to count how many R's there are in a specific
Yeah.
word would be that crazy because I literally think that when I was in college, one of my coding assignments was to create a code that would count how many letters or how many of like this specific letter was in a word.
Yeah.
So like I don't think it's that difficult, which is crazy to me because it can do all these like other things. It can literally create something out of nothing,
Yeah.
but it can't like do basic stuff, which is kind of crazy to me. But
That is so crazy. I will say I manage my husband's like social media for his water heater business. And sometimes I will use what's the Google version of AI?
oh, is it
Uh,
Gemini?
I
Yeah,
sometimes Gemini does really good images. So sometimes if I need an image to post and I don't want to like create a graphic or something, like the other day I had it make like a springtime, it was a water heater and it had flowers like growing out the top of it.
oh, that's funny.
And, like, it was just cute, and it was fun to, like, post, and obviously, it's a fake image, like, it wasn't for selling, it wasn't for impressing anyone, it was j literally just for entertainment, and so sometimes I'll do that, or, like, at Christmas time, we did one that was, like, Santa and his elves working on a water heater. It was super, super cute, but I will use it for that occasionally, but never in, like, a deceptive way, like, everybody knows that was just fun AI
Hmm.
entertainment. It was not to sell anything. It wasn't to deceive you in any way. Um, so I'll use it for that. And I have used it like for our styled shoot back in January. I did use Gemini to kind of show what our theme was going to be for the styled shoot. Um, but I didn't have it create images out of nothing. I put in my own images that I created in that venue and asked it to change very, very small things about it. So we were just changing like the flowers and the greenery and the color of the tablecloths, like things like that. And
Mhm.
I would say it ended up doing a pretty good job of what the end product
It
ended up.
did, yeah. I to be honest with you, like even with those, I was kind of like, dang,
It's impressive, yeah.
that's really crazy, like what it could do.
But I think taking your image that you created with your own two hands and changing a
That's
little bit, like
considerably different
very different.
than
Yeah.
yeah. Yeah, than being like, oh, I'm gonna go in here, I'm gonna like create this like entire wedding gallery out of nothing. It's literally just me describing what I want it to be and then using it to like catfish people into booking with you. Like that's something I have a problem with.
I've seen recently there's a new like picnic company here in our area, and I don't even remember their name, so can't call anybody out. But the only posts I've seen them make are with AI images. Very obviously AI like created, they almost look like illustrated almost.
Hmm.
And it's I don't know how you're gonna advertise your service without real photos. And I saw somebody do
Yeah,
the same with Fitty sessions the other day, and underneath it, it said image created with AI, which thank you for being like honest about it, but also
yeah,
I don't know how you can sell your product without an actual representation of what it is, you know?
I agree. I don't know how I could ever like be willing to invest in something like that either because it's if it wasn't like something that literally this is the setup, this is what I'm getting, how in the
Right.
world do I know what I'm going to get?
You don't. Yeah, because you can't guarantee if there's no pregame, if there's no pre-setup and trial run, you don't know that it's gonna work out, so you can't promise that that's what it's gonna look like. Yeah, I think that's another reason I don't really like mini sessions is because you do like I will not anymore. I've done it in the past, but now I will not advertise minis without having like my own images to advertise with. And so it's a little bit of a process to book that model call, go do their session, edit their images, get those posted. That's why I haven't posted my floral minis yet because I haven't been able to
Hmm.
edit yet and get them out there. And so it's a lot more of a process. And you kind of have to put that into consideration when you're pricing your minis too, like all of the extra work that goes into it to get there, to get them advertised and get them sold.
Definitely. And I know a lot of people have talked about like AI potentially like taking over people's jobs, especially in like the creative industry, which I do get that to a certain point. I do think that it could very easily take over some people's jobs and positions. I just don't think it would work for all of them. And I think photography is one of them. And the reason being is because while yes, it can create images out of nothing if you just describe it, it can't create the actual memories or the instances in time as things are actually like happening, which for things like weddings or like a birth or a newborn, like it can't take photos or capture something as it's happening without actually having it captured in some way. It can't create the moments during the ceremony. It can't create the actual like memories that are happening. So I don't really think photography in general is necessarily going anywhere. I do think that AI could like enhance it, but like also I'm trying to think of like the right word that could like potentially describe this, but I do think AI will change photography a lot over the next several years. I just don't think photographers are going anywhere like entirely.
And I think it comes down to like the type of client you serve. You're always going to have the type of client who wants the cheapest thing, the quickest way, you know. They're going to go to whoever they can book first and for the cheapest amount.
Mm-hmm.
It's never going to be me. Um my biggest thing is the experience you get when you book me. You get my help planning your outfits, planning the location, making sure you're excited and prepared. AI cannot replace that. And also, I am me. Like a lot of people just come to me because they like me and we're friends. And AI can't replace that relationship part of it. And so I could see AI changing photography a little bit, just like some of the ways we do things, or, you know, I'm interested to see how far it takes like editing and calling, and it's already changed the way I do things so much. I'm interested to see how much further it can go. But I don't see it taking over photography by any means.
I do feel like I could maybe see it really affecting video more than photography. And the reason I say that, yeah, is because I saw a post and it was from a photographer who had photographed a wedding, and she saw that she got the gallery back to the bride, and then a little while later she saw the bride post a wedding video, and but the bride that she worked with, they didn't hire a videographer. And so she ended up finding out that the bride had run the photos through some AI,
I
you
created a
know,
video.
type of thing that took the photos and created a wedding video out of the photos, which
I
is
think that's
crazy to
cool,
me.
personally. I think that's really
Honestly, it was a little like scary because like it almost looked real. Like there were parts of it where you could kind of tell like
yeah,
okay, I think this was computer generated. I don't think this is like real totally. But like for the most part, it actually looked like pretty realistic, especially when you're like looking at the photos to compare it to, which is really kind of crazy to me. So I could definitely see AI affecting videography a lot more than it would photography after seeing that. But I don't think photography will ever like go anywhere. Like I don't think it will ever go away because even in order to create that video, it still had to have the photos.
right.
And I would
Yeah,
even say probably vice versa. Like if you're going to take a video and then create photos out of it, like that would be a lot easier.
right. I was actually gonna bring that up because that is one reason I chose not to get into video for real estate photography, is because AI has already taken over so much of that. We offer an AI video right now. Like you can go on our website and you can purchase a video made from the photos that we take. And so I was just like, it doesn't really make sense for me to spend $4 or $5,000 to buy all this equipment if AI is going to end up taking over it all in, 2 or 3 years anyways. And so I chose not to get into video for the same reason. But I do think real estate's a little bit different because it's
Yeah,
not emotional, it's not an event, it's not, it's a stationary object basically. And so I don't really see AI taking over like wedding videography necessarily because like you said, you can't it's not going to recreate your vows, your first dance, like anything like that. Like it's not going to be real and that's not the point.
hmm,
But with real estate, I think it's a little bit different, there's not moments to be captured, there's not memories, it's literally an object, and so, I think it kinda depends on the I guess, the field that you're in as far as photography goes, or videography.
definitely. Definitely.
Yeah, that's so funny that you brought that up because I was literally just thinking that, like, "Well, we do that."
Yep. Yeah. It's so interesting to like hear from another person, just especially because like you do different stuff than I do, like photography wise. So like I wouldn't have even thought about like that from a, taking pictures of a house and making it into a video. I mean, it makes sense now that you've like
Yeah,
said it, especially
they are really
after the
cool,
story
I
I
will
told.
say. They're very
Yeah.
cool,
And I
but
guess like, sorry, go ahead.
I was gonna say we don't sell a lot of them, or I don't anyways, but it's an option, so
Yeah. I was just gonna say that like from like a personal like conviction standpoint, I have a lot less of an issue with like people taking pictures of a house and then making an AI video out of it to try and sell it than I do with like, somebody taking pictures or something of, a wedding and making a video out of that, or I don't know, what have you. But
I will say there's a lot of ethical like talk too when it comes to real estate because often even just with photography you'll have agents wanting to like edit out things that aren't like it would be representative of the property if you did that. And so just for example, I did a property recently that the owners wanted the drone photos cropped to where you couldn't see the neighbors. Neighbors were literally feet away from the house. I could hear the
ooh,
guy next door yelling at his kids from their backyard, like literally probably 10 feet from me in their backyard. It just step over the fence basically, and there they are, which is fine. Like, I don't care. But at the same time, like, why are we trying to edit these photos in a way that are deceptive to people who may be coming to look at the house? It just doesn't make sense to do that in my mind. Because they're going to show up and then they're going to realize that it was kind of deceptive. And then they're going to wonder what else is being deceived about this entire situation. And so I think people just have to think about that. Like, yes, it does make it look better from the outside, but what is that going to tell your customer in the long run? Like, how are they going to trust you after that? And so I think anytime you use AI, you kind of have to think about that too is does that gain their trust or does it break their trust?
I completely agree. I would say that answering that question for yourself is going to help you as an individual be able to decide how much is too much, overusing or underusing AI. For
Yeah.
me, like, I would prefer to err on the side of underusing it. Like, I'm trying to use it as little as I possibly can just because, like, from a personal standpoint, I'm starting to have a little bit more, like, issues with all
Yeah.
of the things that it's starting to get into. But again, like, I'm not saying that in a way that, like, oh, I think AI is evil or computers are evil or anything like that, because again, it depends on how you use it. Anything
You can
can be
also
evil,
make
anything can be good.
movies are evil. It all just depends on how it's used.
Exactly. Exactly.
Well, I think that kind of concludes our topic for today. Was there anything else you wanted to cover?
I think I got all my rants out.
All right. Me too. Well, this has been the Call to Creative, and we will see you guys next week.
Bye, guys.
Bye.